It's one of the biggest aviation mysteries, isn't it? If not the biggest. To bring closure to all those people, I think it's a great thing.
Few mysteries strike a deeper chord than that of a missing airplane. Vanishing without a trace, often over open oceans or remote terrain, these aircraft leave behind not only unanswered questions, but entire families without closure. Today, we'll explore 8 chilling cases of missing passenger flights that have never been found.
After repeated attempts to contact Flight 739 after radio contact was re-established by the Guam Tower, it was officially declared lost at 22:27 GMT, which is the time at which all of its fuel would have run out.
Flying Tiger Line Flight 739 was a U.S. military chartered aircraft that vanished over the western Pacific Ocean on March 16, 1962. The Lockheed Super Constellation was carrying 93 soldiers and 11 crew members from Travis Air Force Base in California to Saigon, with stops in Guam and the Philippines. Somewhere between Guam and the Philippines, in clear weather and without a distress signal, the aircraft simply disappeared. What made this disappearance especially unsettling was the complete lack of debris. Despite a massive search involving multiple nations and covering 200,000 square miles, no wreckage was ever found. A nearby tanker ship reported seeing a bright flash in the sky, suggesting a possible explosion midair, but nothing was ever confirmed. The U.S. government officially listed the flight as missing, and no cause was ever determined. To this day, families of the passengers continue to seek answers. In 2021, they petitioned to have the names of the missing added to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. BSAA Star Dust.
These are dangerous conditions. If something goes wrong, it will turn catastrophic very, very quickly.
British South American Airways Flight Star Dust vanished August 2, 1947, while flying from Buenos Aires to Santiago, Chile. The Avro-Lancastrian aircraft was carrying 6 passengers and 5 crew members when it disappeared over the Andes Mountains. Its final transmission included the mysterious Morse code message STENDEC, which has never been definitively deciphered. For decades, the plane's fate remained unknown. The Andes are notorious for treacherous weather and remote, rugged terrain, making search efforts extremely difficult. Speculation ranged from alien abduction to sabotage, though most experts suspected the plane had crashed into a glacier. Still, no one could explain the message or why such an experienced crew made no distress call. It wasn't until 1998, over 50 years later, that mountaineers discovered pieces of the wreckage and human remains in the Tupungato Glacier. Investigators believe the aircraft slammed into the mountain during poor visibility and became entombed in ice. Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370.
A routine procedure, routine flight, as we say. The flight path was more or less a straight line, aimed from Kuala Lumpur out over the water in the South China Sea to the main landfall of China.
As far as everybody was concerned, it took off normally, was flying its route north towards China.
Perhaps the most well-known missing flight of the modern era, Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 vanished on March 8, 2014, en route from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. The Boeing 777 carried 239 people from 14 different countries. Within an hour of takeoff, the plane diverted from its scheduled path and disappeared from radar somewhere over the southern Indian Ocean. Despite one of the most extensive and expensive search operations in aviation history, the main wreckage has never been located. Some debris, believed to be from MH370, washed up on Indian Ocean islands years later. However, without the cockpit voice recorder or flight data recorder, investigators have been unable to determine what really happened. Theories range from hijacking to pilot suicide and even mechanical failure. The mystery has sparked documentaries, books, and countless online discussions. For the families of those aboard, the lack of answers is unbearable. Air France Flight 72. On July 31, 1948, Air France Flight 72 vanished while flying from Fort-de-France in Martinique to Port-Etienne in Mauritania. The Latécourt 631, one of the largest seaplanes ever built, was carrying 52 people when it disappeared over the Atlantic Ocean. No distress signal was ever received, and the aircraft never reached its destination. A few days after the disappearance, a French Navy cruiser found oil slicks and some aircraft debris near the supposed flight path. Yet the main fuselage, passengers, and crew were never recovered. The findings led to speculation about structural failure or an onboard explosion, but no conclusive evidence surfaced. The massive seaplane's complexity and limited production also meant little investigative groundwork had been laid before the disaster occurred. The disappearance dealt a blow to post-war commercial aviation, especially as the Lattacour 631 had already suffered multiple mechanical issues. Varig Flight 967. Varig Flight 967, a cargo plane operated by Brazil's national airline, disappeared over the Pacific Ocean January 30th, 1979. It was a Boeing 707 en route from Tokyo to Rio de Janeiro, with a scheduled stop in Los Angeles. The flight carried 6 crew members and, intriguingly, a shipment of paintings by artist Manobu Mabe worth millions at the time. The aircraft vanished just 30 minutes after takeoff from Narita International Airport with no distress call and no radar anomalies. A thorough search of the vast ocean area between Japan and the US West Coast turned up nothing. No debris, no oil slick, no life rafts. The complete lack of wreckage left authorities baffled and fueled rumors of hijacking, sabotage, and even alien intervention. What has made Varig Flight 967's disappearance particularly strange is that it occurred in an age when long-distance aircraft were closely monitored. How a large, modern Boeing jet could vanish so quickly and completely remains one of Brazil's most enduring aviation mysteries. Flying Tiger Line Flight 923. Different from Flight 739, but just as eerie, Flying Tiger Line Flight 923 disappeared during a transatlantic journey on September 23, 1962. The aircraft was a Lockheed Super Constellation flying from McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey to Frankfurt, West Germany. It was carrying 76 passengers, most of whom were military personnel. The flight encountered trouble roughly 500 miles off the coast of Ireland. A distress call was made indicating engine failure, and the crew attempted a controlled ditching in rough seas. Some survivors were rescued from lifeboats, but the majority of those on board perished. While this might suggest a non-mysterious outcome, the wreckage of the aircraft itself was never recovered. L-1049G Super Constellation. A lesser-known but still baffling disappearance took place March 23, 1965, when a Lockheed L-1049G Super Constellation aircraft disappeared off the coast of Florida. The plane, operated by Slick Airways, was on a cargo run from Miami to the Dominican Republic. While not a passenger flight in the traditional sense, it was authorized to carry passengers and was certified for commercial operations. The flight took off in good weather and was last reported 250 miles southeast of Miami. No radio distress signals were sent, and no wreckage was ever found. The lack of explanation sparked wild theories, including Bermuda Triangle involvement, but no evidence ever surfaced to clarify what happened. British South American Airways Flight BSAA G-AHNP Star Ariel. Star Ariel, a Tudor 4 aircraft operated by British South American Airways, disappeared over the Atlantic January 17, 1949. The aircraft was flying from Bermuda to Kingston, Jamaica, with 7 crew members and 13 passengers on board. The weather was reported to be excellent and the flight progressed normally until all communication abruptly ceased. There were no signs of distress or technical problems in any of the radio messages sent before the disappearance. The aircraft simply stopped transmitting and all efforts to locate it failed. Now it's time to hear from you. Which of these unsolved flight disappearances do you find most chilling? Let us know in the comments section below.